community councils. What are these community councils? They're directly under the president. They have no constitutional standing. They're funded by the president. You have to agree to be building the socialism of the 21st century to form a community council. That's part of what Margarita Lopez Maya points out in her book Estado Descomunal. Okay, so these committees have a list of all the people that are a part of the community councils, people who are Chavistas, and they distribute bags of food to them. My friend Arturo, Jose, who just was stood in line for 10 hours the other day on his day to buy food, starting at 3 in the morning, and at 1 in the afternoon, the National Guard came and broke up the line, telling everyone there's no food, so he went home empty-handed. I asked him about the CLAPS, and this is documented in a really excellent investigative piece by von Bergen. And he confirmed, yes, in fact, we've got no food from the community councils because we're no longer Chavistas. We no longer support this process. So they're no longer on the list. So it goes to it's patronage again. I mean, the radio stations, the community radio stations, if they step out of line, do you ever hear any criticism of Maduro there? Any criticism of the process except in the most general terms that we need to improve, that we need to make some changes, things like that? Never. That's the way populism works. And so what we're looking at in Venezuela is a populist project with a dead caudillo. And now a man coming to take his place who is incompetent to run the government, can't manage all these diverse forces within the Chavista movement, and in fact throws them out. So there is the left opposition, he's right. Maria Socialista, thrown out because they dared to criticize Maduro. I mean, the problem is that there's no criticism allowed in the PSUV at this point. Hector Navarro, Jorge Giordani, thrown out of the party, essentially thrown out, relegated to the very margins, but who now are talking about the $300 billion that the Chavistas have stolen, they've gone missing from the account. That we're talking about a quarter of the money that came through in oil revenues, disappearing into bank accounts in Andorra and in Spain. And all these Chavistas, where are they living? They're living in Miami now. They don't want to live in Venezuela with all the crime and all the decaying infrastructure. So what we've got is a project that has failed. They're now getting loans from the IMF. The government is now getting loans from the IMF. It's selling all of its gold. It's hollowed out its industries. It's trying to privatize, sell off contracts in the oil fields, partnering up with international capitalists, and it's in extreme decay. It can't even feed the people in the country. There is hunger. 30% of the school children are now malnourished. There are children who are dropping out of school because they have no food. The indigenous people are suffering worst of all because they never had any access to anything in the first place.
Miguel Tigre Salas, I won't stop you if you want to respond to anything
I just
there.
don't know where to begin, because again, I mean, first of all, no IMF loans. Second of all, $300 billion. There was not one Venezuelan of any significance, only 2 minor officials in the Panama Papers. If you think that if Venezuelan Chavistas had money in U.S. banks, that the government would not be going after them, or that a conservative Spanish government would not be going after them. So where is this miraculous $300 billion hidden in? We hear this all the time. You can keep throwing dirt up against the wall. Eventually some of it will stick. Are there problems in Venezuela? Yes, of course. I'm a very strong critic of Maduro. I'm a very strong critic of corruption and of patronage. I'm a very strong critic of all those issues. But again, let's be clear. There has been an advance done in Venezuela that we did not see in any other country. Why on earth would the U.S. target Venezuela for regime change if it was basically a neoliberal state? That idea is preposterous. The same reason that to talk about the divisions among the opposition. No, the only division among the opposition is whether Leopoldo López or Capriles or Maria Corina Machado becomes president. That's the real difference, and that's what's causing them to have different strategies and what approaches. Because do they really want to govern right now? Do they actually want to govern and only fill in a 2-year period in which they will now impose austerity measures and open